What do you think when you hear the phrase witch hunt? In the early 1950s, a young playwright named Arthur Miller looked at the world around him and saw what he considered a witch hunt. It had only been a few years since the end of World War II, but the world was already locked in another worldwide power struggle. This time, the struggle was between the United States and the Soviet Union. Almost immediately, an arms race was underway, creating strong alarm about the future of the world. In later years, we have come to call this decades-long struggle the Cold War. We know it died down peacefully, but during the early 1950s, war raged hot and active in the battlefields of Korea. Americans were understandably concerned about the spread of communism. So, when in February of 1950, a young senator from Wisconsin named Joseph McCarthy announced he had a long list of Communist Party members working in the State Department, it is not surprising that Americans were afraid. Already, the House Un-American Activities Committee had blacklisted a number of prominent figures in entertainment, such as the Hollywood 10. Only 6 months previously, the Soviet Union had conducted its first successful nuclear test. And within a few months, America would discover that this had been made possible by a spy ring led by Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, who had passed nuclear secrets to the Russians. Anti-communist fervor swept across America, and McCarthy's accusations added fuel to the fire. Soon, this relatively unknown politician became a household name. Even though he produced no evidence for his claims, and frequently changed his story, McCarthy rode a wave of popular fear and anger. In response to McCarthy's accusations, the U.S. Senate began hearings to investigate his claims. McCarthy's rhetoric was intense, but the hearings turned up no evidence for his accusations, and the committee declared them a fraud and a hoax. From that point on, public opinion was divided on McCarthy. Some agreed with his cause, and public figures continued to fall under suspicion, such as when Charlie Chaplin, while on a trip to London, was exiled with a revoked re-entry pass. However, increasingly, many others began to feel that such sweeping restrictions were unfounded, alarmist, and dangerous. Still, for several years, Joseph McCarthy remained in the public eye, continuing to make accusations. In 1953, he was made chairman of the Senate Subcommittee on Investigations. From this position, he began intense investigation of the Voice of America and the Army Signal Corps. It was in this atmosphere that Arthur Miller looked around and felt he saw a witch hunt. In 1949, Miller's play, Death of a Salesman, had won the Tony Award, the New York Drama Circle Critics Award, and the Pulitzer Prize. But then, in 1952, its director, Elia Kazan, was called before the House Un-American Activities Committee. Although no longer a communist sympathizer, Kazan still was pressured to name 8 other acquaintances as communists. Miller and Kazan split apart over the experience, and Miller began work on a new play. For the setting, he turned to early American history and began intensely researching the Salem witch trials. Miller's new play used the Salem witch trials as an allegory for the excesses of McCarthyism. The play premiered in 1953, and it won the Tony Award that year. Still, its initial reception was mixed. Ironically, it even drew attention from the House Un-American Activities Committee, and Miller was denied a passport to attend the London premiere. However, over time, its message gained strength. In March of 1954, respected broadcast journalist Edward R. Murrow produced an investigative report on Joseph McCarthy. This report, combined with hearings initiated by the U.S. Army, brought about a popular backlash against Senator McCarthy. In time, Arthur Miller came to be considered one of the most important figures in the history of American drama, and this play, The Crucible, became his all-time best-selling play. Miller, not McCarthy, had the last say. Still, the questions Arthur Miller raised live on. What behavior constitutes a witch hunt? Where is the balance between protecting society and defending individual freedoms? Do we still have witch hunts today? What do you think?